Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we're on page 69 of your student journal. And our objective or our goal for the day is, today I will divide decimals by a whole number. Okay, so our vocabulary is pretty much the same as that we still have our dividend, our divisor, and our quotient. And in our working form, our dividend goes inside, our divisor is outside, and our quotient's on top. So there's really no new vocabulary for today other than what we've been using. Our steps say we're going to rewrite the problem in working form, which we've been doing, and that's working form. Step 2 is our new step. It says bring the decimal point straight up into the quotient. Okay, so when I do step 2, I always like to kind of draw this barbell. So some of you, if you were in 5th grade a few years ago, and Mayflower might have heard that, but this is our barbell. That's what I think of when I do step 2. So I'm going to take my decimals straight from my dividend and go right up into my quotient, and then I'm just going to solve. Okay, so what does this actually look like? I'm going to grab my red pen if you want to put your pencil down for a moment. Here's my first problem. 48 and 64/100ths divided by 19. So I'm going to step 1, rewrite the problem in working form. So my dividend goes inside, my divisor goes outside. So here is my problem. Okay, step 2 says bring the decimal point straight up into the quotient, and I said I draw this barbell. So I kind of connect it and go like that. Just like that. Barbell is kind of like what Popeye used to use, like an old-fashioned weight. Okay, and then step 3 says just solve. So now I'm just going to solve like a regular division problem, which means I'm going to use my daddy, mommy, sister, brother, and I'm going to use my paper to help me. So 19 cannot fit into 4, but it can fit into 48. And again, I'm going to think 19 is close to 20, so 2 20s could fit into 48. So I know it's going to be 2, and 2 times 19 is 38. So when I subtract, I get 10. Okay, so I'm going to bring down now, that's where I'm at, a 6. So 19 can fit into 106. I'm thinking 5 times because 5 20s is 100. So I know it is 5, and if I need to come down here and do some side work, I can solve. 5 times 9 is 45, and 5 times 1 is 5, plus that is 9. So it's 95. And then when I multiply, it's 5 times 19 is 95. When I subtract, I get 11. And when I bring down, I get 4. And I know you're thinking you've seen this problem before because you have. So then 19 can fit into 114. Well, if 5 was 95, it's going to be 6. And I could come over here and check. 19 times 6 is 114. So when I multiply, I get 114. When I subtract, I get 0, and then there's nothing to bring down. So my answer is 2 56/100ths. So it's just a division problem. The only difference really was I had to have the barbell in my quotient. Okay, let's look at number 2. Alex paid $834.40 to rent a car for 7 days. How much did it cost each day? Explain what the answer represents. Okay, so this is the total, and I need to divide it into 7. So that means that 7 is my divisor, and $834.40 is my dividend. Okay, so step 1 is I set it up in working order. Step 2 is I bring up my decimal into my quotient. And then step 3 is I'm just going to solve. And I'm going to use my same strategies. So 7 can fit into 8 once. When I multiply 1 times 7, I get 7. When When I subtract, I get 1, and then I'm going to bring down. Okay, 7 can fit into 13 only one time. When I multiply, I get 7. When I subtract, I get 6, and then I'm going to bring down. It's going to be a very long problem. Okay, then I'm going to start over. 7 can fit into 64 9 times, because 9 times 7 is 63. So 9 times 7 is 63. And I multiplied already. When I subtract, I get 1, and then I'm going to bring down. Okay, and start over. 7 can fit into 14 twice. 2 times 7 is 14. Notice I am running out of room. And when I subtract, I get 0, and then I'm going to bring down and start over. 7 can fit into 0 times. 0 times 7 is 0, and when I subtract, there's nothing to bring down. So my answer is $119.20. That's how much each day costs to rent the car. I hope they were getting a really nice car, because that seems like a lot of money for one day. So that number represents how much each day cost to rent the car. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, really the only new step today was to make sure that you bring your decimal from your dividend into your quotient. And again, I use the barbell to help me. So let's try some together. Okay, so here's our first one. It says, solve, then show and explain one way to check your work. 0 and 285 thousandths divided by 3. Okay, so this is our dividend and that's our divisor. So let's set it up in working form. And then let's bring our decimal up into our quotient. And then we're ready just to begin working. And I'm going to use my same strategies. Okay, this one's going to look a little different because I would say 3 can't fit into 0. 3 can't fit into 2, but 3 can fit into 28. Now watch what happens though. When I say 3 can fit into 28, 3 can fit into 28 9 times. So I could put a 9 here and say 9 times 3 is 27. And when I multiply, I got 27. When I subtract, I get 1. And when I bring down, I get 5. And then I start over. 3 can fit into 15 5 times. 5 times 3 when I multiply is 15. When we subtract, we get 0 and there's nothing to bring down. Okay, but when I look closely at this, there's kind of a problem because I put the 9 here and there's nothing on top of this. So if I was to write that as is, it's going to say 95 hundredths. But notice that I actually needed a placeholder there. So I would have to have a 0 there to make sure it's clear where the 9 is supposed to be because it's actually 95 thousandths. So that's one of the keys about keeping all your digits like really lined up. Like look how I could draw lines through my digits. So my answer either needs to be 0 and 0 95 hundredths or at least this. But if you had this, that would be completely wrong because, I'm sorry, it has to be 95 thousandths. You can't have 95 hundredths. Okay, let's try one more together. Lee bought 12 identical toys. His total was $30.96. How much did each toy cost? Explain what the answer represents. Okay, so this is what he spent and we're dividing it by 12. So this is my dividend. And this is my divisor. So we set it up in working form. We brought our decimal to our quotient and now we're just going to solve using our same strategies that have helped us be successful. So 12 cannot fit into 3, but it can fit into 30 twice. So clearly make sure your digits are in the right spot. 2 times 12 is 24. And when I subtract, I get 6. and then I bring down. 12 can fit into 69 5 times. 5 times 12 is 60. And when I subtract, I get 9. And then when we bring down, 12 can fit into 96 8 times. And 8 times 12 is 96. And when I subtract, I get 0, and there's nothing to bring down. So I'm getting 2 58/100, which is $2.58. So that means each of the identical toys costs $2.58. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, you have the next few pages to be working on your own. Have a nice afternoon.